you are dealing directly with the treatment, the capture and captivity of a sentient person, free and clear of any guilt of any.
Good morning. Today is the 14th of October. We are in the Five Bogs area. We're going to go to an area where we have had past activity and track finds today to see if there's any chance of a repeat of such things. I don't know how this is going to work out. I'm using my 3D6 and my 360 camera for the intro just to do something different, and we'll gauge the results when I see them, I guess. So that's what we're going to do. Some things to discuss today. My thoughts on the story of the week. You've probably already seen it. We'll touch on that later. But let's get going, see what we find, and figure out how we're going to do this today. I took the day off from hunting just to make a comment, because where we're going and the task of carrying camera equipment versus hunting equipment.
Because if we're going to go on our lead,
I decided to opt for the camera thing today. I will probably be hunting more likely next week, and hopefully get some luck then. I also haven't seen boo in the way of a grouse or a turkey so far today, so there's that.
Which means, of course,
again, let's get going, see what happens, and the day will dictate its own pace. It's about 50, it's going to be about 50 at best today. It's not the coolest, it's not freezing, but it's not warm. But it's a bright sunny day. When I looked at the forecast on Tuesday, it was projecting rain yet again, so that's cleared up. That's a plus. We're going to get going, and we will hopefully have some luck today. Okay, we are back. We've been going for about 20, 25 minutes. Where we're going takes about probably an hour and 5. It's a ways out. We're on a trail, such as the trail is, but there's only been one occasion where I've seen another person on this trail out of 10 some odd years of this. I'm again using this one today kind of just to break up the routine of camera usage, and I'm curious how steady I can hold it with the manual stick. I can attach it to the gimbal too for greater stability, but for the sake of less moving parts for now, we're going to do this and see where we go. So, the story of the week, quite obviously, is the Colorado footage of a Bigfoot walking through a meadow that has being seen by a train. The unfortunate news is that it's a hoax. The background of the hoax, however, is that it was probably not a hoax by the train passengers themselves. It was probably done by someone else, and how exactly it was done has been a matter of multiple conjectures throughout the week. It even made the mainstream media, which is interesting in its own right. But again, it is a hoax. The reason it made the news, though, is it's excuse me, one of the better ones that's come out in a while, because the schlock that you see on Facebook and the like of late is blurry, lazy, pathetic crap. And to the Mark Zaskis, to the, I'm not going to say Todd Standing, because Todd Standing actually does use CGI and make an effort to make Muppet-looking representations of himself. But the Mark Zaskis, the people of his nature, the Ontario Bigfoots who come up with these stupid friggin' claims. Chris Noel and his ever-famous porcupine, and fuck you, Chris, it's a porcupine, you dumbass. The dumbest thing you ever did. I'm kind of done. This is my pre-New Year's resolution. I'm kind of done being nice about the obvious fakers and people causing obfuscation, to use a $5 word, of the subject towards the mainstream. It's clearly a fucking porcupine. I have a video clip that I've claimed about many times, taken in Vermont in the middle of July, and it was in broad daylight. It's the same exact thing that you have on your photo, you stupid, stupid little man. And the dumbest thing you did was you fucking doubled down when people called you out on this. You could have just admitted, okay, I was a little bit overzealous and let it go, and it would have gone back into obscurity. But no, being the little egomaniac that you are, you stupid little freaking mental pygmy, you had to freaking double down. You are probably the dumbest, most brazenly obvious dipshit. And if you're still in the BFRO, I kind of have to like take a look with a raised eyebrow at Moneymaker and like, why do you keep this guy there? I mean, you hurt the group's reputation bad enough in your own excesses of ego, but Chris Noel is a straight up hoaxing freaking dipshit. And there, I said that. If you're going to try to copyright strike my video, the unfortunate news is I'm not monetized. And I probably have all of 200 subscribers. I'm not really a big name in the group, so you probably will never see this. That doesn't make you any more of a dipshit. The other fun stuff is these stick structure things. I got into it with a Redditor the other day. I'm going to talk more about that in greater detail later. But here you go. There's an arch. You know what did that? Fucking gravity or humans. Because you have under there trees that are clearly cut with a saw or like nature, probably a chainsaw, and you have forestry that has gone through here. And I have actually seen, I take that back, I've seen other people in here too, and they were literally forestry service workers, and they probably bent that over there to get it out of the way because it was overhanging here so people can hike through unimpeded. You do occasionally have people on horseback come through here, and that would be in their way, and the horse might freak or not go by it, whatever. Horses are intelligent enough to have hang-ups about things like that. Anyway, Colorado Bigfoot video, a hoax, which actually brings to mind another pathetic hoaxer, Mark Abell, who won the Off the Richter Bonehead Award. I forget what he called it, but he was like it's basically the biggest dipshit of the year award, and he took that hands down. And it was a well-deserved award because Mark Abell has made some the claims aren't even freaking funny. They're cartoony stupid. Daffy Duck would laugh at this shit. Marvin the Martian would say, "You're making me very angry," because that seemed to be his catchphrase. Anyway, I digress. I wanted to bring that up, and rather than run out the battery on the 360 camera, should I decide to use it later on, that's what I had on my mind. We'll get into other things later, but that's obviously the big story of the week. And yes, unfortunately, it's a hoax. It's just a matter of how it was done and the disagreement there. So we're going to take a break at this point back and cover some ground and get to where we've been at before. This is one of my favorite spots, especially this time of year with the colors coming in, even though with all the rain, it's been rusty as hell in here. But we can't control that. But, you know, that is something outside my immediate control. But we're going to partake of some charming scenery. I'm going to probably get some photography in over here. And, pardon me, I have there's an allergenic thing, even though it's like probably the lowest allergy something out here. My better half has basically theorized that, we're still going. With all the rain, there's like probably some kind of a mold thing causing problems out here. That is plausible. Not proven, but it is plausible. So when last we left off, it's very hard for me not to take a shot at Chris Noel because that porcupine thing is just such a pathetic little freaking reminder of the low quality standard some people have for critical thinking that just makes them look like a joke. This is a big pond, as you can see. It would be fascinating if I actually had the energy to lug a kayak all the way up here or similar to get out in the middle of that and try some fishing to see what's in there. But as I said, to get here, well, to get where we're going, we're only about 2/3 of the way there. You're talking about an hour and 10 minutes, and it would be even longer if you're dragging a freaking kayak or similar along with you, and it would take some time. We're not going to go down there because you immediately run into that. So the other bane of my annoyance is stick structures. I got into it with a Redditor the other day who wants to make a case for stick structures, and the go-to that seems to be the norm now is the upside down trees. And I want to say, I know they've been found in Alaska, but it's also been documented that these are done by loggers. Why? Markers. It may be a shock to some people, but Alaska, damn it, is a rather huge place. And a whole lot of that is wilderness. Like, not, this is wilderness I can walk to within an hour. I'm talking like you can be 50 effing miles from literally anywhere. The only other place that you can get into of that nature is like maybe along the Amazon. There was a weird thing that happened down there last year I'm not going to get into right now. Maybe we'll touch on that later. But it took elements of the Peruvian military 10 hours to get there by outboard motor, because that's literally the huge, vast, remote area that you're talking about. And you're not going to get there in an hour. It's not a 45-minute drop, and it's thick ass jungle and windy ass river. There's no fast way anywhere, just to make that point. But that was this damn cough is deeply annoying. And I'm also trying to decide if that's an actual island out there or if that's just like this. Probably it's like this. I may have to take a break because this cough is really just disrupting my vocal pattern. Yeah. The go-to is the upside-down trees, whereas you start getting even lazier, like the arch I showed you before, or shit like this, is deadfall. You know who put it there? Gravity. And these people, they have never seen... Now, actually, I'm going to take a moment. Things like that tree right there are not in every case, but in some cases where it's more and then goes up, they were deliberately deformed by like that by Native Americans. And again, why would they do that? Because they had these trails through vast stretches of wilderness, and they used those as navigational markers, believe it or not. They had a whole way of doing things that was pretty damn smart if you think about it. So I'm going to take a couple of pictures and come back and hopefully beat my cough. But stick structures, until somebody can actually pull out of their derriere a picture of a hairy forest person arranging stick art, you really have no claim, and it is just wishful thinking and wild conjecture. In the distance is some form of vehicle. I did say I've never seen people in here, but one possibility and likelihood is that is a golf cart with, or a 4x4 with forestry service workers, like trail maintainers. They could be out here. I missed them, but that's okay. Until you have that photo showing that, the unfortunate truth is that, and even like wood knocking, is a product, as far as I know, of Matt Moneymaker's imagination, because nobody has a picture of a Bigfoot doing that either. No one has a non-blurry picture of Bigfoot, let alone one whacking on a tree for reasons that we can only conjecture about. Probably communication, but I'm going to have to go look and see what the hell that is. And anyway, I'm going to take a quick photo or two. I'll take a break at this point. We'll come back, and I may or may not be doing 360. I may move to a different camera solution. I have a few, but we're going to go and see what the hell that noise is, too. And we're back. We're at yet another pond. And if my cough can get the bleep over itself, we're going to take a look down here for tracks as well, and see what we find. But with it being so, there's that, which despite the lack of appearance is probably a moose track given general size and shape. So where were we? We were ragging on stick structures and lazy thinking, which it is. Let's move on to other territory then. What else is going on in the week? I dare say the Colorado thing is probably the major thing, and whenever there is new information to consider. I was going to walk around the side of the pond, but true to the rain and all that, that normally isn't underwater, and it's too much of a pain in the ass to get over there, so even this is a lot swampier than normal. You can usually walk this way or that way, and right now that is not really looking so promising. So, oh well. We'll get a glance here. Let's see if I can get around, because this does loop around. And you can see there's more over there. It's actually like a big, kind of like an L shape or a V. Maybe a U, but I'm also trying not to step brazenly into the water, because so far today I've escaped with reasonably dry feet, and I'd like to continue the trend. I guess we can cover upcoming things. Next week I've put out feelers to a couple members of the network, as well as the other gentleman who has been out with me, towards whether they can get out or not. There's also a hike I traditionally do each year. I can do that on a Sunday conceivably though, but it's something I do each year. I go out and I look out on the rolling hills of northwestern Connecticut. And I do need to fit that into the schedule, because the week after that I'm going to be up here for a 3-day weekend. And I will be out each and every of those days for a prolonged period. So that's usually when I make one of my longer videos. Sometimes it's a multi-parter, because there's just that much covered. Because you don't have to run home, because your home is basically a mile away from the trailhead. So that does have its advantages. But no, I don't think there was really anything else going on. I think the Tall Ones was even covering the Colorado thing. So I'm going to take a break and cover some ground, and we will come back when we get to our next location, and we will talk. We're back. We are executing a change in plans. We are on a different trail than I intended to follow, despite the plane flying overhead and fucking up the tranquility of the forest. We're hoping to avoid human contact, as off in the distance there was some kind of man-made noise, and I'm suddenly thinking possibly some form of hunting going on. So I'm sort of wearing orange, but for the sake, I should have yelled at the guy I saw back on the trail, who's looks like a photographer guy. He didn't have any orange on, but he was on the trail. So unless you're a really sloppy hunter, you should realize that shooting peoples is a no-no and will land you in prison. That actually happened up here last year. Somebody died in a hunting accident, and the guy who did the accidental shooting was facing a manslaughter charge. So be careful when you're hunting. I think I've said this on camera before. If I don't, I will now. This fucking cough is really annoying. I am much more leery of shotgun hunters than bow hunters, or even guys with high-powered rifles, because of an ironic reason, and that is price of ammunition. Shotgun shells are cheap. High-end ammunition, hunting arrows, not so much. You factor in the price of ammunition, you're not as trigger happy. Shotgun guys, they're the ones I've seen do things in the woods that cause me pause in fear for my safety. So they're the ones I would worry about. So pretty fall colors, such as they are. And I probably am doing this whole thing with a fishbowl look to the footage, but this is a Samsung Gear 360 camera, and I've just taken to using it today because it's in my pocket, it's quick to turn on and off, and ease of use. I think it has a full charge. We are still recording, so it's got enough to last for a little bit, and I think it goes for about 90 minutes. The one draw is the app that comes with the phone to make things truly 360, where you have those car sickness inducing, like, fake little planet videos, is on my old phone. For some reason it's not compatible with a Galaxy 10, which isn't the most modern phone either, but I don't feel the need to be an Apple groupie and get the latest and greatest iPhone for way too much money every year, because that's frankly just stupid, and God forbid I'm thrifty in my old age. But seriously, Apple sucks. Don't buy Apple products. They suck. And they always say style over substance, which is just, it means you're a shallow person. And I mean that half jokingly. Moving on. We digress from nature-y, Bigfootery goodness. It's funny that the photographer guy said he saw at least 3 grouse so far. I haven't seen Boo. Although I'm not out hunting today, I haven't seen sign or hair of either or that or turkey. I have turkey tags too, but I didn't bring ammo to bag a turkey because I probably have mentioned this before too. Grouse versus turkey are considered small versus large game. So grouse, I think you have a limit of like 4 per day. Of course, you have to see 4 per day, so pesky details. But the turkey require 1 a tag. I think you're allowed 2 per season. So, but you also have to use different arrowheads with each one. Grouse, you use what's called a blunt. It's a blunt force kind of thing, because grouse are not the biggest bird, believe it or not, and putting a broadhead through one is going to shred your carcass. And yes, you killed the bird, probably with gratuitous overkill, but gratuitous being at least a $3.50 word. But excuse me, and you also run a decent chance, if you don't get him with a good shot, of getting that into the gut cavity, opening up organs, which then probably ruins your meal. So no good. Whereas the turkey takes a regular broadhead, and with that you can use broadheads of your choice, but switching back and forth the types of arrowheads in the field is easier said than done, because a broadhead is a razor sharp damn thing, and you need a special kind of tool to do it if you don't want to slice the crap out of your fingers, which I have done, and it does suck. It's about the same as like getting a wayward fishing cast and your hook ends up in your scalp, and you have to kind of gingerly fish, literally quote unquote, fish that out of your scalp. Fun had by no one, except your asshole friend that does nothing to help you and films it and laughs at you and then plays it back for you later. There are people like that in the world, and yes, those people suck. I'm going to go real slow here because that's all slippery as hell and muddy as hell. And I saw the tracks of photographer guy come through, so I know this is not Bigfoot. Although there have been, and this is me, Mr. Skeptic, saying this, there have been creatures in this area before. Different ones too, because the one that I saw in 2012 is not the same as the pair that I saw on an ongoing basis between 2016 through 2018. 2 different interactions. If you know me well enough, I've shared these with you. But that is, I don't share these stories with just anyone because, number one, I don't know for a fact that they're not still in the area, and I don't want to compromise their location if there's an ongoing investigation to have. And there's one person out there, last name is Bolton. I know that bugs you. I don't care. I'm going to give a little philosophical advice to people that are newer to this. I'll call it a hobby. When I started out, I had to learn this all from scratch myself. As a result, you'll forgive me, I've known too many people who have come to show that they have questionable judgment in things to compromise areas to noobs of that caliber. They want to be spoon-fed, and that tells me that they're not dedicated to the subject, because if they were, they would learn shit on their own. I'm sorry if that comes off sounding harsh, to a point. But sounding harsh doesn't make it wrong. It's not. It's kind of the analogy of giving the man the fish and feeding him for a day, or giving him the fishing pole and letting him figure out how to get his own goddamn fish. And I've applied that in many a time. One of my previous neighbors had moved to the Northeast from parts that obviously didn't have a lot of snow one day, and she was trying to shovel out her car with a kitty litter box. Yes, I'm not kidding. And my better half turned to me and said, "You could help her." I'm like, you know what? It would be very valiant if I did. I'd be a great guy if I did. However, she wouldn't learn anything. Because if you leave her to do this, as heinous as that sounds, as douchey as it sounds, the first thing she's going to do when she's done with that is go out and buy a damn snow shovel and learn her lesson, and she'll never go through that again. So it was a deliberately non-chivalrous act, but it served the greater good. And to any female out there who says, well, that just makes you should do everything for her. Number one, she was my neighbor, not my girlfriend, because that would possibly have changed how I handle the situation. But I am not a fan of helplessness, because it makes one a liability. And again, that may sound harsh, but people that are outdoorsy, I notice, tend to favor women who are also outdoorsy and therefore not helpless in the woods. I've talked about that a little bit in previous videos. From a bushcrafter's standpoint. So I don't need to repeat that one, but as I try to navigate the mud. For the moment, rather than ramble, I think I'm going to cover, that's about all I'm going to cover right now, because the cough is kind of coming back a little bit. There's another arch. Bigfoot didn't do it. Lazy thinking. So stop it. We'll catch you in a bit and we'll be back, if only for the outro, depending on what we do.